I want to walk through a few of the most common misconceptions that we hear time and time again when it comes to school strategy. And keep these in mind as we're going throughout today's entire presentation. This really is a little bit of a framework or a foundation of what's most important to keep in mind as you're building your own strategies. Now, first and foremost, and this is arguably probably the most important one, and if you remember one thing that I say today, please remember these next couple of lines. Um, there's a misconception or belief that at times school strategy is something that you can set once and then use year after year. In reality, school strategy needs to be fluid. And as many of you know, this isn't something that you build once and lock in for the next 10 years. A truly effective school strategy it evolves, right? It adapts to market shifts and changes in your hiring needs at any given moment. Now, another misconception I'm hearing a lot this year is that skyrocketing application volumes mean that we don't necessarily need to go to campus. And we're hearing this a lot of times from the business, but also some in TA. Um, and this might be true for a few rare programs. And yes, in a year of budget cuts, skipping campus engagement might feel like a reasonable short-term fix, a little bit of a band-aid to a potential larger issue. Um, but the reality is building authentic relationships with schools takes time. And this isn't necessarily a lever that you can just flip on and off like a light switch without consequences. Long term, pulling back can cost you critical relationships and pipelines. Traditionally, universities tend to be sticky with their memory. Students pass down information and memories from year to year, and that can lead to some negative implications for employers overall. Now, third, the tracking outcomes isn't urgent. So lacking the infrastructure to track school metrics is actually a pretty big issue. Into today's environment where ROI is under really a microscope, not having the data to show historical success can be a real barrier. So without good tracking in place, it's nearly impossible to make smart strategic decisions about your school strategy. It really is a prerequisite at this point to ensure that you have a solid strategy set in place. And then last but not least, there's a belief that if you have a school agnostic approach, you don't necessarily need a strategy. But we're actually seeing a little bit of the opposite. More and more programs are actually moving back towards having a core school strategy. And we have that data from a year-over-year perspective, but it really is both as a way to build stronger, more strategic pipelines and as a practical tactic to actually narrow an overwhelming application funnel, like we saw a couple slides ago. So in many cases, it's becoming a critical piece of navigating today's new realities.